Like every Monday night, you are checking out Breakfast Super Raw.
Bon appetit, as Don, Tony, and Mish dish out their opinions about the world of pro wrestling, sports, news, and pop culture. Breakfast Super Raw.
And now, your host, Mish and Don Tony.
I am awake, everybody. Good evening.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, my God. I didn't go to sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up at 8:30 to do a little bit of work because even though it is Memorial Day, don't tell that to the insurance companies pending customers of cancellation today. Oh, my God. I got such a headache. But you know what? I had such a great time yesterday. You know, preparing for the show and watching the pay-per-view and interacting with a whole bunch of you mofos on various Discord pages and even one Facebook page. I stopped by. I haven't been there in a very long time. Then just having great convo with everybody for almost 3 hours last night. But then once the show was over, it was a little bit tedious to edit, put online. And then by the time I was done and put my head on the pillow, you know, I'm hearing birds chirping, and that's a little bit much for yours truly at my age, but I promise everyone I will sleep like a baby tonight. I know you and I didn't discuss this pay-per-view at all yesterday.
No.
Just very quickly, your overall thoughts, you know, what did you think?
I mean, quickly, I would say that it was a good pay-per-view, little long. Most of the show was okay. You know, I really enjoyed the main events. I really enjoyed the back and forth with the vignettes. I thought that was a lot of fun too. You know, a couple of subpar matches, but you know, for the most part, it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. I just don't know how people feel about these longer events. I mean, I was talking with Joe a little bit earlier about this too. Do you prefer, let's say, a 4-hour event, but less times a year? Or would you rather shorter events more times per year?
Excellent question. Because that was something that I kept thinking about in the wee hours in the morning. And even that's why I posted that tweet at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I would rather have a 4-hour marathon, even if I paid $10 more for it, and have the pay-per-view every 2 to 3 months, you know, because it makes the pay-per-view feel a little bit more special. You know, you get exhausted when you invest that much time. Look, I mean, as far as wrestling fans go, you enjoy the pay-per-view, you chat, then you go to bed. You know, for you and I and a lot of other podcasters out there, you know, the work goes on hours before and hours after. So if you're really going to drain yourself, you know, as far as me as a podcaster, I would rather have the pay-per-view go an extra hour, hour and a half, make it a night, and then we know that for 2 or 3 months, we don't have to deal with that again. And I'll tell you the truth, brings me back to my childhood. I mean, even though they have standed the test of time, you know, people that are older, what do they always say about WWE pay-per-views? They still consider Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, like the big three or the Royal Rumble, the big four. Right. You know, those pay-per-views for me still have a little bit more special feeling to it and meaning than WrestleMania Backlash or even Elimination Chamber or Money in the Bank. I mean, those are great pay-per-views as well. But if you gave me a pay-per-view every other month, charge me more, gave me a little bit more, I actually think I would prefer that.
Okay. It's just interesting because then it's like the negative side to that is, are you trying to hook people in to a feud that takes 3 months for it to finally blow off? Mm-hmm. Or do you actually cap certain feuds at the end of the month and then revisit them later? Or is this just better overall? Because it's like the idea of, you know, more events but less time is actually beneficial to AEW because that means more money.
Right.
They might be able to charge cheaper, but still that's more money for them as a current, as a constant revenue. But at the same time, the bonus for them doing 4 big events a year is it has a big event feel.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
they
had a
feel
big
more
event
important
feel.
and fans feel more obligated to buy those events because there are so few of them,
Look, I made this comment yesterday. I knew, and I made a disclaimer as soon as I started the show, that it's definitely wrong for me to say this. And I actually, debated in my mind back and forth, should I even bring it up? But I knew I would have regretted it later if I didn't say anything. And it's not even because other people online would have said it. I don't care about that. But,
right.
I understand the audible side of it because of the logistics and the way everything was set up. But even the visual of looking at the crowds, that crowd last night blew away Mania. And yes, it's unfair to say because we had a torrential rainstorm at Mania and there was a lot of uneasiness, for a lot of fans, first show back. But you would think, WrestleMania, regardless of the circumstances, you go back and you watch some of those matches, a few exceptions, but for the most part, you just focus on the crowd. Forget the noise. Just focus on the crowd. And even both nights, crowd didn't remotely seem to be anywhere close.
That first night was pretty loud. Those fans were really into that first night. Once that rain passed and everybody started having matches, because I think even at home, I think a lot of people enjoyed that first night a lot more than that second night. And I think there was a lot more electricity. And you're right, there was a torrential downpour. So in one sense, it's not the same. Obviously, Jacksonville is a different setup than, where WrestleMania was. But I don't know, man. I think overall fans are happy, not necessarily because this is a one and done, because this was kind of the opening of the floodgates to more live events to come. I think a lot of fans were happier and I think louder even because not because the matches incurred that much excitement, but more along the lines of, you know what, we're back. We can have fun again. Yeah. We can go to not just our favorite wrestling matches, but now we can go to concerts. We can go enjoy the rest of our fucking summer. We don't have to worry about getting, sick every time we get within 5 feet of someone. So I think there was a lot more underlying behind that excitement, that electricity that AEW fans had last night, besides just the event and the matches at hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we go any further, I just want to give a couple of quick shout outs. Crazy Cruiserweight, very, very happy for you, my friend. He got the second COVID shot yesterday, and he said the replay in total was 14 tonight. If he missed some, we're raw recap and replays.
Yeah,
and fruit roll-ups.
Some of those are unfair because some of those recaps, like they did the Kofi recap where they were, recapping his career from 2008. I don't know if I'd necessarily count that one. You're right. There was still recaps tonight, but it didn't feel as it didn't have the same
feel
kind
unnecessary.
Of feel. Right.
Yeah. I thought, the fruit roll-ups I get a kick out of. And, there's a reason why we started the joke of the fruit roll-up a couple of months ago. Now, if you notice on social media, a lot of people are focusing on the fruit roll-up. Some people are cute. They'll change the name slightly to make it look like, we didn't pay attention to our show and realize it because fruit roll-up's been going on for decades. But lately, it has just been out of control. How many do we see? And tonight, we got it twice for Sheamus. And, you and I said a couple of weeks ago, and by the way, for everyone out there that is pissed off that you're getting Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley at Hell in a Cell, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but this is why I always say, and I say it for decades, that I understand a lot of you out there enjoy other shows and what other people write and say, but remember where you hear certain things. Listen to what we say and don't just hear it. Because we told everyone out there that Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre at Hell in a Cell was going to happen. And I brought up how WWE, once they were able to start getting these shows, this schedule, they've already announced 29 events, I think, or even more than that. And we got Raw, SmackDown, Super shows, house shows, pay-per-views, everything that we told you. And WWE, I think some people didn't understand when I said 2-3 weeks ago that they have made Hell in the Cell WrestleMania this year. Not as far as the big feel to it, but in the sense that storylines and feuds that were supposed to cease at Mania, once they realized July we could have live fans again, all right, instead of turning the page, still in front of LED screens, let's extend it to Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell finishes. Will now be in June. Now they can turn the page, and it leads up to Money in the Bank, and it leads up to that July 16th SmackDown, and that's when you have live fans back in attendance, and those storylines at that time start to really progress, and that leads to the ticket sales and every house show, every event that they have announced, Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view, their seating capacity, maybe one or two events, the seating capacity might be 10,000. But for the most part, they're 14,000, 16,000, 18,000. I don't expect them in many cases to get more than half of the building, but still, 10,000 seats multiple times during this tour, that's better than before COVID. It's better than before COVID. Sure. So Drew McIntyre, and I expected to be inside the cell. I think still Seth Rollins versus Cesaro will take place inside the cell. I think those are your two Hell in the Cell matches. If you want to extend it to the women, that's a possibility too. I still am not sold on Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte in a cell, you know, but getting back to what I was saying earlier, you know, we also talked last week, you and I, that they're going to set up Sheamus versus Carrillo versus Ricochet for Hell in a Cell. And tonight, they did the fruit roll-up twice with Sheamus. And in the process, it looks like
a fucking pimple.
It looks like he has broken his nose.
Yeah.
And if you want a better close-up of it, there you go. Carrillo nailed him with a forearm, and they repeated in slow motion, and he legitimately busted his nose up. All, you know, the fruit roll-up simply to try to justify why these two guys deserve a shot for Sheamus's title. I didn't like that at all tonight. I'm left cheering for Sheamus more.
You know what? And that's the weirdest thing too is, so you got Carrillo and you got Ricochet up on the ramp, trash talking Sheamus, who lost and who's literally just oozing blood out of his face. And I'm looking at these two and I'm like, wait a minute, these guys are supposed to be the baby faces? Because this doesn't look like any kind of baby face shit that I'm used to seeing. So I understand it was an accident or whatever have you, but it just didn't feel, it almost felt like the roles reversed tonight. Like, that's not how a heel gets treated before like the big event. Like, that would be the payoff or something. So I don't know where they're going with this. And you know what? I don't find myself rooting for Sheamus, but I'm definitely not rooting for anybody else in that. You know what I mean? It's kind of a whatever happens, happens.
You want to talk about turns in Bizarro Land?
Sure.
Just check out social media tonight. Jaxson Ryker is trending.
Oh, okay? Yeah.
Now this is truly Bizarro Land, social media personified. Elias, anybody with a half a brain that knows anything about wrestling, that understands wrestling, Elias turned heel tonight. Well, they were heel, but Elias walked out on his partner.
Right.
When Rick Martel jumped down from Tito Santana and left, Tito Santana was not the heel. When other people have jumped down and walked away, the person walking away is not the baby face. And because Elias walked away from Jaxson Ryker and all the hatred that social media has about this guy, they feel like Elias turned babyface tonight because Elias broke away from someone that everybody despise, well, a lot of people despise online, on fucking Memorial Day. And yes, Jaxson Ryker has his faults. We all do. Jaxson Ryker, was a Trump supporter. Okay? 50, 60 million other people were as well. And even with Memorial Day, and yes, they reminded everyone to remark that Jaxson Ryker served in Iraq. Thank you for your service, and thank everybody. I said it last night, I say it again today. Thank everybody for your service. Those who are no longer with us fighting for our freedom, those who are currently defending our country and freedom, and for the loved ones and friends out there who have lost someone, our love and thanks, appreciation. But still, this social media climate that Elias jumps down, turns away, and then cuts a promo in the back. The thought of him driving town to town, hours at a time, going back to live fans and having Jaxson Ryker in the car with him makes him sick. And people love that.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. Jaxson Ryker, I think it's a lot more shit than he needs. I mean, it's such a weird conundrum when social media dictates a person's personal life with the character that they portray on the actual screen. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of it too. I'm sure we all have to a point.
No, Jaxson Ryker definitely deserves a lot of criticism. But, as far as a wrestling
criticism as far as what
goes,
he does in the ring and his gimmick, absolutely. Criticism as far as a person, absolutely. But when they cross over, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a story.
Because you're a bad wrestler because you're a conservative. What? What the fuck does that even mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that I'm confused about. You don't like him because he's a conservative, because he has conservative viewpoints? Fine. Totally agree. You don't like him because you don't like his in-ring work, or you think his character is shallow, or fine. I can agree with that too. But when you start mixing one with the other, what the hell does that even mean? How does his character portrayed in wrestling have anything to do with his personal life and vice versa?
Yeah. Sean Hickman says, just because you're veteran doesn't mean you're a saint. Sean, I invite you. Give me 5 people that you would consider saints. You can't include myself in those 5. No one is a saint. Everybody has faults. Jaxson Ryker is not Timothy fucking McVeigh. All right? The guy, you want to talk about, he was arrested once. Well, so was Roman Reigns. And so was a lot of other people. Because he's not a saint. What does that mean? No one is out there as a saint. People on social media will try to convince you that they're superheroes.
I think
until
he just meant
you
that
reveal that they were catfishing you for 15 years. But no. James Pascoe is a saint. He's a saint. But no one is a saint. No one's a saint. Nobody's perfect out there. Dr. Fauci's a saint. Yeah. Slave looking for that tweet bang tonight.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, by the way, Slave, I saw what you wrote before. This is Gorilla Monsoon. My tribute to Gorilla. I've worn this a few times before. So it doesn't stink yet. But
well, you wash it, right?
Oh, of course I wash it. Of course.
I know that there's people that wear a shirt once or twice and then they just throw it away. That's just what they do.
How did you all like my QT Marshall announcement yesterday? People that, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go on my Twitter and just find the tweet from last night when I announced QT Marshall was Wrestling Friday. Live on demand. Just think Droz the Bucket and Vince McMahon. But instead of the word puke, trust me, you won't regret it. I won't do it tonight, though. So let's get back to Raw a little bit. And I got to open up talking about this. I said this tonight, and I know it's unfair. I know you and I had a great conversation last Tuesday about it on Patreon. So it feels like the topic is old already because we've talked about it multiple times. But I got to say this, and I got to say this point blank. Jimmy Smith, he debuted tonight as the Raw commentator in place of Adnan Virk, who is no longer there.
Yes.
And, yes, thank you, everyone. The Friday before on the Don Tony show, I said to everyone that Adnan Virk will be out of there. I did say before the end of the year, I didn't think it would be this quick. But what I said earlier today is, sorry, Adnan, 10 minutes into Raw, Jimmy Smith has already shown he is a huge upgrade. And I realized something tonight. The biggest difference between Jimmy Smith and Adnan Virk, it's not that Vince is in the earpiece any different between the two. But Jimmy Smith tonight compliments Corey Graves and Byron Saxton. He adds. He is a very important ingredient, but he complements the other two. Adnan Virk, since he debuted, he tried too hard to stand out, and every time he tried to stand out, he would use rhymes, puns, outdated innuendos, mistimed analysis, and history lessons. I mean, it just did not click. And the guy felt like a deer in headlights since day one. And Jimmy Smith tonight, it's just, I'm sold. I'm sold. I mean,
yeah, he did a great job.
He did an awesome job tonight. And it's nothing against Virk, because I've said Virk in the other forms of sports that he is involved in, he does a fabulous job.
Right.
If you want
there's
nothing
wrong with Virk. It's just that wrestling is not his forte. That's all.
Yeah. If
some
you want
people
role
have
reversal,
positives in some areas and negatives in others.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy did a good job of, I wouldn't even say he compliments them. I think that his biggest bonus tonight was he took a couple of punches and rolled with it. And he was also communicating back with both Byron and Corey on a level where somebody is talking to someone as opposed to where they're reading a script. Yeah. Like one of the issues with Adnan Virk is there was a lot of times that he felt like he was just regurgitating whatever was being fed through his headset, which they all are. We're not kidding ourselves. All three of them are getting regurgitated, but Jimmy seemed to be comfortable with it. I'm not going to knock on wood. You don't want this guy to like fall apart by week 3 or nothing like that. But as far as the first impression, good first impression. Let's see more.
If you want a role reversal, we could go back to 2001. And what I always remember from the XFL was NFL fans and NFL players and analysts criticizing some of the WWF announcers who were doing play-by-play. I mean, Jerry Lawler got the most heat back then, but I remember Jim Ross getting some heat, even though I thought Jim Ross did a great job calling XFL games. But the point is that just because you're great at one sport or medium doesn't mean that you can do it all across the board. I mean, every sport is a form of entertainment, but Virk just, like what I said earlier, he just forced himself, and it just felt, it didn't flow. It never flowed from day one. You know, we gave him the benefit of the doubt, and, you know, I'll repeat what I said last Friday. You know, a lot of people feel it's unfair to compare Pat McAfee and Adnan Virk, but when WWE debuts both of them the same week, yes, you compare the two, because WWE decided to do that.
If you think about the last year or two, WWE has gone through a shit ton of announcers. I mean, you can go to Morrow, you can go to Samoa Joe, you can go to a lot of people. You can go to Renee Young, you can go with, you know, the on and off with Beth Phoenix. Like, there's been a lot of people that have come and gone as far as commentary for WWE lately. And it seems like it's become more and more confusing, to me anyways, as to what it is that they really, really want. Because you've had all different kinds of personalities, all different kinds of backgrounds. I'm actually still surprised to this day that guys like Rosenberg and Sam Roberts have never taken up the commentary booth on the regular. I know that they did it once or something like that. But, I mean, as far as being part of the 3-man team, you have 2 different types of broadcasters right there. You got Wade Barrett back now. Like, WWE really has kind of run the gamut with all this commentary stuff. And it seems like they're not happy with what they've had. Do you think that, you know, this is the kind of person that they're looking for? Or do you think there's a possibility that even Jimmy Smith might not be the guy that they're looking for?
I think Jimmy Smith, as long as his schedule doesn't get burned out, I think he'll be fine. I really do. You just get that feeling. You know, you just get that aura of it, and it's natural. It flows. It's not forced. There's some people that are just a natural with it. Samoa Joe, my God, the only reason why he's not doing commentary anymore is because he still wants to wrestle a few more years before it's too late.
What about Tom?
Tom Phillips, look, I'm still trying to get all the details there, but this stems back even before WrestleMania.
Okay.
With some of the COVID protocol and other stuff. I mean, once I get all the info, I'll share it, but I don't, like I always say, I don't want to be first, I want to be right. But
Fair
Tom
enough.
Phillips, yeah, another one. I mean,
there's a lot of people. Renee, too. Renee got that bump over to Fox, and it was like, I understand that her call to call every day was kind of, I mean, she got better towards the end, but she was a better interviewer. It's just weird. It's just weird how they kind of go through different announcers and commentators, and I don't know, it just seems like they're never happy.
Yeah. Thank you, Cruiserweight, for this. Main event results from tonight: Mansoor over Drew Gulak, Mustafa Ali over Jeff Hardy. And what'd you think of that little back and forth with Ali and Mansoor on Raw? Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, do you think something's going to come from that?
I think we may see Ali versus Mansoor.
What?
I think we're going to see Mustafa Ali versus Mansoor.
Okay.
Yeah. Because basically Ali is telling Mansoor, don't trust the Viking Raiders, don't trust anybody. And Mansoor, basically, I think what Ali was trying to prove is don't even trust Ali. Don't trust anybody. I think those two would have a great match. And if WWE does go back to Saudi Arabia towards the latter part of 2021, I would not be surprised if you have Mustafa Ali versus Mansoor in Saudi Arabia. So, I mean,
right.
That's a long ways away, but
yeah,
hey,
it's a while. Right.
I'm telling you, I like Mansoor, and he's proven himself. He's worked his ass off, and this is what I said yesterday. I don't want to compare one to the other, but I'll just say it. Britt Baker. I let it sink in a little bit from yesterday. Britt Baker, you're hearing more and more on how she drove, every week 4 to 6 hours to and back wrestling to train and doing a dental at the same time. And every week, plus at home with Adam Cole trying to hone a craft. And a year and a half later, all of the fans, that followed her closely in AEW. I mean, my God, a year and a half ago, I was calling her Shit Baker or Britt Bella because to me, she was just another, Brie Bella or, Nikki Bella. But that shows you that when you work your ass off for the fans to improve yourself and to be the best you could be, fans pick up on that. Fans will get behind you. And people out there are very astute. They know who is working their ass off.
Sorry.
There's a big
I have to
difference.
completely disagree.
Huh?
I have to completely disagree. Their match was one of the worst matches of the night.
Oh, no, I didn't. I thought the match didn't flow yesterday, but I'm talking
it was
about her
slow.
overall
It was
work.
sloppy. There was light tapping. There was missed punches.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
There was bad camera work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, everybody wants to try and produce this idea that Britt Baker is one of the best female wrestlers in the world.
She's not one of the best females. But she worked hard over the last year and a half. She improved. She was very dedicated, and people take notice of that. There's a big difference out there of people who want to be relevant and people who feel relevant. There are people out there in every walk of life, every business, even with podcasting. There are people out there that do what they do because they want to be relevant. And then there are people out there that do what they do so they could feel relevant. And people will know the ones that drive 2-3 hours each trip, work their ass off, work 2 jobs, work this, work that, and then improve over a year and a half. I'm putting her in a sentence with Mansoor. I'm not putting her in a sentence with Drew McIntyre. All I'm saying is with Mansoor, you go back 2 years ago, we were doing spoofs of The Godfather with Don Fanucci asking WWE, hey, do me a favor. Give
but on the other side,
push.
DT, You're missing this though too. There on the other side, there are plenty, and I'm sure there's a lot of people even in this chat that can understand this example. There are people that will bust their ass and break their nails and bleed their fingers to the bone just to get to the next rung on the ladder. And then there's people that just skip up the stairs. There are people that are just so naturally talented that they don't have to try that hard. So I'm not taking anything away from the dedication of the person trying to do better for themselves. But we're not going to lie to ourselves and say that some people are just naturally fucking talented.
No.
That's just a fact of life.
Brie Bella, oh my God. If Brie Bella or Mansoor, if Brie Bella, Mansoor, oh my God. I'm bringing up Brie Bella.
Yeah,
Snap out of it. Snap out of it.
Britt Baker.
Snap out of it. If Britt Baker or Mansoor or anyone else, works their ass off, that doesn't mean that they're going to make it to the top of the mountain or be one of the greatest of all time. But when you watch it in real time, Raquel Gonzalez is another one. Raquel Gonzalez is not one of the top women in the world. But when you see her a year and a half ago compared to today, that hard work and that dedication, people see that in real time. And they see that those people are working their ass off to make what they're doing better. And all I'm saying is that, I think it's worth acknowledging the hard work that some people do. They're not going to be the top of the car. That's why I even said last week that they may want to reel in her with the Austin 316 type remarks because it's nowhere near that. But people get behind her. And the same thing with Mansoor. I think Mansoor at this point now, it doesn't feel like WWE is doing Saudi Arabia a favor anymore. Now it feels like, okay, maybe in the beginning that's what it was, but the guy has been working his ass off. Bad Bunny. Some people get triggered because WWE still shows clips of Bad Bunny, about the WrestleMania, what people are saying about that. But that's something to be proud of. And when I saw the other day, I think it was Mojo Rawley, who's not even in WWE anymore. He was bringing up how he showed up, Bad Bunny, and you and I talked about it for months, that we heard from people behind the scenes that he was showing up in the ring nonstop, literally throwing up, no complaints, taking bumps, working with Gulak and Norman Smiley and others, and just working. And it showed when he had the match against Miz and Morrison, teaming with Priest. And yes, Miz Morrison made him look 1,000 times better. But that's what happens. Fans take notice when people truly work their ass off to try to make themselves better. They may not make it to the mountaintop, but, getting pretty high up, I think, is a pretty good achievement. So I'm pretty happy with Mansoor's, rate right now. And,
sure.
In retrospect, I'm kind of glad he's not involved with them.
Some people deserve that's the spot that they go to based upon their natural talents. And some people get there through hard work and dedication. And
Goldberg.
The perfect storm would be somebody who's naturally talented and hardworking. Yeah. That's your best bet.
Look at Goldberg. Look at some others. Everybody, for some reason, thinks that you have to have this amazing work rate or thing. And it doesn't happen that way. Wrestling is entertainment. There's all walks of life, and there's all forms, shapes, and sizes, and everybody there has a different purpose. And I've said it before, just because you get rid of Mickey James, but you're bringing Eva Marie, this is not like a baseball team that's replacing a pitcher for another pitcher. No, it could be getting rid of a pitcher and signing someone to work on the bench. You can't compare the two. And now you're hearing the reports that Eva Marie may be coming back and never wrestling. Gee, I wonder where people heard that from. You and I said it the first vignette, that we don't even know if she's going to be back wrestling in the ring. Now people are reporting all over the place. That may not be.
She's here to speak for the men and the women of WWE, DT. That's what she's here for. She's here to be the example for all the men and women in wrestling.
She's going to be one of the women for tribute to the troops, wearing the Army hat.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have any problem with that. So, now, last week I said this. I was pretty amazed that we actually almost got this tonight. Now, I don't mean physically, I mean character-wise. But how many of you last week remember when I said that Alexa Bliss needs to kill Reginald? I said Alexa Bliss needs to kill Reginald, and then tonight Reginald is going to be in Alexa's playground, and I'm like, oh my God, are they fulfilling? I don't remember making a wish. You know, I'm not terminal, but you know, I kind of did want to see that happen. You know, unfortunately, Shayna Baszler had to spoil the party and beat the shit out of Reginald, but instead, Shayna Baszler sits on the seat. And we all think up to this point that Alexa Bliss is doing the voodoo stuff on Shayna Baszler and maybe to get back at Nia Jax. But next week, I don't know if this is actually supposed to be a match or whatever, but we're getting the very end of Thunderdome. We're getting the very end of them being able to do pre-recorded sci-fi shit. So now we got to wonder next week, what is this fucking doll going to do to Shayna Baszler, pre-recorded, that we're going to think is live on TV? What voodoo stuff do you think is going to happen next week?
If I have to make an educated guess, I'm going to say something to do with fire. Okay. Something to do with fire. Because every other damn thing that's happened has been involved with fire. Fire, 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 fire. So
fire, fire, fire.
Yes.
Sorry.
That doll is Beavis.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this. I'll be honest with you. When I saw Reginald do the fruit roll-up on Shayna Baszler, I'm like, come on, man. I mean, you and I have talked about it so many times in the past that Reginald's role is to do Cirque du Soleil flips in the ring and ultimately almost be like a Santino, you know, but...
Right.
I mean, where do you go with this? I mean, even the story, I mean, you see they're about to break up Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as a tag team. They just broke up Elias and Jaxson Ryker as a tag team. And, you know, I tell you, tonight we had T-Bar and Mace return to the ring. Yeah, and the funny thing about it is I was in my living room at the time, and I heard in the background that T-Bar and Mace are going to have a match. Without any hesitation, I said to myself, who the fuck are they going to face? The Lucha House Party? Yeah. Because I was thinking just by default, it's either the Lucha House Party or the Viking Raiders. Right. And I don't think the Viking Raiders are going to get squashed by T-Bar and Mace this soon. This tag team division in WWE sucks. It sucks. Because if I threw out there next week a particular tag team that is going to wrestle, and I did a contest that said, who do you think their opponents would be? I think 95% of you out there would probably predict the opponents because there's nobody else. You got Natty and Tamina show up on Raw today, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what women's tag teams do we think would possibly face each other as vile opponents? And I'm saying, so really sounds like only two people, two teams, Mandy and Dana and Lana and Naomi. And sure enough, that's the fucking match we got tonight. Their tag team division sucks right now. And now you're about to get rid of Nia and Shayna. You just got rid of Elias and Jaxson Ryker, even though they really didn't have any threat in the first place.
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, and you broke up the Hurt Business. I mean, it was not too long ago that we had this. What was wrong with that?
I missed that. Now it's just Bob and MVP with a bunch of can we call them hoes? What do we call them? Ladies of the evening? Escorts? What do we call them exactly? I don't know the WWE terminology for those.
Enhancement talent.
Aha.
Enhancement talent.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at this picture, probably the thing with Bobby Lashley is they wanted Bobby Lashley more with the suit to almost be like Ric Flair in a sense, that it's just Ric Flair and J.J. Dillon.
Right.
You know? Ric Flair styling and profiling with the ladies. It's I just don't know what was wrong with that. What was so necessary about that? And now you realize...
I don't even know why they split up the group. I mean, now you got Shelton Benjamin going ow my eye every week now and losing every match. Oh, come on, man. What? A thumb to the eye is a finisher, pretty much. Okay, sorry. A thumb to the eye for the setup. But I don't know. It just really makes Shelton Benjamin. And I thought it was funny because even in the little intro notes that they put on the side of the ring when Shelton Benjamin comes out of the ring, what was he, 4-time IC champion? They don't talk about his tag team.
No.
Gold. They talk about, him being an IC champion and everything else like that.
And you know what's ridiculous about that?
And they embarrass him with this. Huh?
You know what's ridiculous about that? They're now doing this 50 greatest WWE tag teams of all time.
Right.
And Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable are going to be on that list. Not Chad Gable. Shelton Benjamin.
Charlie Haas?
No. Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin will probably be on that list. You'll probably also see Shelton Benjamin with Charlie Haas. And
I would hope so.
You might also see Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. I mean, obviously they won't be in the top 10. You could possibly see Shelton 3 times on that list.
I don't know about that. I'd be surprised to see him on there once.
I bet you he's on there at least twice in the top 50.
tag teams in WWE history? Yeah, but you know what? You're right.
You can have MSK on that WWE list, even though they've only been there for a couple of months.
Right. They're going to be like Demolition Who? I don't know who those guys are. Oh, you mean WWF days? Yeah, we don't count that.
I think Demolition will be on there. I mean, it depends. They may only go back to the 90s, but I think they'll go back to the 80s.
They may only go back to 2001.
Number 1.
Right.
Would you put Legion of Doom as number 1?
If it's WWE, no. If it's WWF inclusive, sure, of course. Actually, I like Demolition more than I like Legion of Doom personally, but that's just me. But no, if it's just WWE stars, then no, none of those greats will be on there. None of them.
I used to do an awesome impersonation of Hawk. I haven't
done
it in about 5 years. Well, so I can't really do it right now.
No Bolsheviks?
Oh, Bolsheviks. No. Oh, I'm going to fart Bolsheviks. I hated the Bolsheviks.
No Power and Glory? Come on.
Power and Glory weren't that bad. They weren't that bad. But they were just enhancement.
Come on. Paul Roma was a beast.
Paul Roma was okay. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Harris B. I've been bringing up Mitch and I, even on Patreon, we were talking about Wayback Machine quite a bit, finding a lot of our old shit that we did 15, 20 plus years ago. And on Wayback Machine, on my old website, the link for the video game that I created back in 2001 called Maven Invaders, the link is still there. And Harris B actually downloaded my video game, and he actually tweaked it and put QT Marshall there instead of Maven, and he has QT Invaders. I kid you not. That is QT Marshall's logo. Here's a little trick, Harris B, or anyone else that decides to do that. Use a PNG file, a transparent file. That'll eliminate the box around the head a little bit. Back in 2001, I had no idea what a PNG file was. So I've always thought about making like a HD version of Maven Invaders, but props, man. I absolutely love that people are still downloading my shit from 20 years ago. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. All right, so earlier today we had Lana and Naomi taking on Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose win. Nia and Tamina on commentary. I think the big news coming out of tonight, not necessarily who's going to be facing Nia and Tamina next, but their outfits. What do you think?
Yeah, that was nice. Little throwback to the 90s. I got a little 90s flush watching a little bit of extroverted movement going on in the ring there. Just saying. I was actually surprised that they were allowed to wear something like that. I thought that might have been too risque for the young viewers at home. How long, DT? How long before somebody complains to WWE and says, why don't you have these girls put some clothes on? It's 2021. Why are these girls almost naked on television?
I don't know.
Just saying.
Yeah, let me ask you this.
I would put money that somebody's going to be offended by Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke's outfit. I don't even doubt it. There's somebody out right now, right this fucking minute, that is seething and looking for a way to contact WWE Elite and their corporation in order to tell them how they feel about how scarred they are over Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke's outfit.
I'll tell you what I like about some of the women's teams now, even though the quality of the in-ring work is not as strong as recent years. I like the matching outfits. That is something, that's missing a lot with the makeshift tag teams. You see a lot of wrestlers who do not change their garb at all. But, I tell you, I say this joking around because we're in 2021, not us in 2001, Mish. So if you went out for a night and you were able to pick up one of these two group teams to hang out in the limo and have some cafe latte, which two would you choose? And they would
Naomi
be wearing
Lana.
these outfits, by the way.
Naomi Lana.
Hey,
Naomi
thank you.
Lana, because honestly, Naomi Lana looked like they would have a good time. Like you would laugh and have a good fucking time. Mandy and Dana Brooke are, what's the term for it? They're upper echelon.
Yeah, I'm
There's a
intimidated
certain-
by their look. I'd be embarrassed.
Well, not intimidated, but it almost seems as if there's a certain tier of person that can interact with them on that level, that it's almost like it's more of a game that you would play in order to interact with them. But with Naomi and Lana, both girls are married. You know what I mean? Both girls are married. There's no cheating on their husband with you, so you're going to go out with them and have a good fucking time. You know what I mean? So
my battery died on my light. So you may not see as much of a purple light tonight, everyone. A little careless, didn't have backup batteries.
Oh, it's all right, dude.
Oh, wait. Whoa. I always have extra lights lingering around. Let's see if this one works. Somebody hooked me up with this. I got stands coming, so these wands, I don't know if you've ever seen them.
What is that? These are not the droids you're looking for.
See, you got the fluorescent on one side, and you got the RPGs on the other. You could make a different thing. I don't want to screw it up right now, but
how does that look like? How does that look when it's inserted, though?
I have two stands coming, and he shipped me two, but I only got one so far. So when I get the other one, then you can change the color. See, look,
you missed it. I said, how does that look when it's inserted?
Oh yeah, no. Actually, they do have a police setting that if you have two of them with the red and the blue, it looks like, like the cops are coming. And believe it or not, there's a guy on YouTube that is actually modeling it with the cop look. And if you look at it, he actually is with this concerned look on his face, because we know, the perception of cops and how they mistreat, like certain races and everything. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll leave that for now. It's the best it'll do for the rest of the night. It's a little too bright, but it's okay. The dark side of DT. By the way, I'm going to watch the Mick Foley A&E tonight. Thank you, Joe, and everybody else recommending it. Yeah, I got an email from Mick Foley the other day. And now I think I am going to pick up a couple of the autographed Sockos, and might be doing a little cameo for the Donzilla Army.
Right.
Breakfast Soup Donzilla Army
Nice.
in the near future. But I freaking love Mick Foley, man. The guy, I disagree on his political views, and trust me, it's on my bucket list. Before next year or the end of next year, Mick Foley will be on, just chewing the fat, maybe a little political discussion as, Kenny Bolin and others. Just got to do a couple of more things over here. And, we're trying to set up to take calls in the very near future. So we're working on a bunch of things. But I got to watch that A&E. What brand is this? It is, good question. I actually don't see the name on it. There's GVM. GVM, I think it is. I think it's GVM.
Mm-hmm.
The Grizzled Veteran, I don't know. GVM, that's what it says. This is a Voltrex something. These lights are pretty cool. You get them for like $15 on Amazon. You just flap a battery on there and you can just put them everywhere. So But so we have, looks like Mandy and Dana taking on Tamina and Natty. Now it seems like the Riot Squad may have turned, which just feels really, really unnecessary. I don't know. But I like the outfit. I think the more they do that, they're forcing WWE's hand to keep them together as a tag team and not release them. I'm just curious, what do they do with Jaxson Ryker, man? Could Jaxson Ryker, is that WWE's bucket list challenge for themselves? We're going to get Jaxson Ryker over as a babyface despite social media and the cancel culture? Do you think they're going to invest now? You think Jaxson Ryker, his days are done?
I don't even know. I don't even know what the purpose was for tonight for Jaxson Ryker. It just felt very hollow. It felt directionless. I'm not exactly sure what the direction is for him. So to sit there and try and even pinpoint where he's going to be in a few months from now, I honestly couldn't say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of those who's going to wish his release or anything like that. I have said for a very long time, I just don't think he clicks in WWE. There's just some people that just never click. And I know some wrestlers who have really stood to bat for him for his wrestling ability more than anything else. It just feels like enhancement talent. I mean, it just feels that way. And it's not even because of the net stuff, because I could put that aside. I don't know.
Yeah.
We had, and I know we're going back and forth a little bit, everyone. We're just trying to be a little bit different than everyone else out there. Rob, and this. But, we can kind of start filling in the blanks a little bit. We open up with Raw, and tonight we have Miz making his return. He's not a zombie, everyone. But Johnny Drip is wearing a garlic chain that I actually think I may be buying. I'm not kidding. I may actually buy it and wear it on the show sometimes.
Why don't you just make one?
Well, I like the metal chain that goes around it. It's actually a little bit creative, but they do have different variations online. But, props to everyone out there who picked up on it. Johnny Drip was talking about why he was wearing the garlic. He said to keep away the vampires, the flight attendants, and others. He never said zombies, because zombies don't give a shit about garlic. So when Johnny Drip did not mention zombies, everybody is like, wait a minute. But they got attacked by zombies. Wouldn't that be No, because garlic does not do anything to zombies. And I don't think... Does the cross deter zombies?
No.
It doesn't, right? I know Satan it does, but not a cross. So what could they have even had to deter zombies?
Nothing. They're slow movers. That's the only thing that zombies are. You got to be quick.
Yeah. They could have just took like a random can of something and just they could have said what's that smell? And he could have taken out a can that said zombie repellent or something, and he sprays it all over himself and everything. But he also has this, and I've already checked everyone. This is not something on Amazon. It goes under another name. I don't remember the name, but they took a magic marker and they drew Dripstick on it. So that is a little summertime water gun type deal. But I tell you, dude, if you go back and you watch this opening segment, you kind of see it on Miz's face here. Miz, a couple of times, almost lost it. He was laughing his ass off with Morrison's promo about the garlic and the dripstick. He almost lost it twice, laughing his ass off. I loved it, man. I know some of you out there want to see them split up, and I say this to all of you out there. When Miz and Morrison used to be a team a long time ago, and they were gone as a team, and Morrison was elsewhere, I remember years and years and years, everybody saying, man, I wish Miz and Morrison would reform a team. So think about that. Maybe right now their usage isn't as spectacular as it could be, but you split them up, within a year you're going to have people saying, man, I wish they were still a team. They complement each other. I enjoy it.
I don't want them to split up. And you're right, man. They're boys. They're fucking boys. And tonight was funny because that entire time, as you pointed out, Miz was trying to keep his shit together and keep the segment moving. And it was funny. And Charlotte came out, and they were still kind of ripping on each other. Like, you know, Charlotte's trying to move the promo along. You can almost see, like, Charlotte's like, come on, let's move the promo along. And these two guys are just, hey, whatever. Oh, fuck it, we're laughing, you know? And they were fake laughing, but they were actually laughing while fake laughing. You know what I mean? It's they have a natural charisma together. You know, it works. I'm sorry, it fucking works. People that don't like them together, I'm sorry, they work. They're funny. People would rather have a shitty tag team, and I'm not saying they're shitty, but I'm just saying people would rather have a shitty tag team that they know goes out there and actually has a good time and has a good time with the fans and has a good time with each other than see an elite tag team that's just completely miserable and just goes through the motions and goes through the paces, you know? So.
Even though I never liked them when they were this gimmick, great example, Bushwhackers. Never liked the Bushwhackers. Loved the Sheep Herders. Never liked the Bushwhackers.
Right.
But I do remember going to a lot of shows as a kid. Everybody loving the Bushwhackers. Yay! Whoa! And they're just licking each other's heads and this and that.
It's a stupid gimmick, and they were never taken seriously as a tag team in the WWF, but people had fun.
Yeah.
Kids wanted to have their head licked by the Bushwhackers, by Luke and Butch. That was just a thing.
That would be interesting to see in this day and age.
Yeah, Too Cool. People are bringing up Too Cool. People are bringing up the Headbangers. There's plenty of tag teams over the years that were kind of cockas. But the gimmick with the fans and the camaraderie got them over. People wanted to see them. People wanted to enjoy their time with them.
Yeah. Shout out to AS7607. She says that Jimmy Smith is a breath of fresh air in commentary.
Yes,
Clicked
he is.
very well. Absolutely, man. WWE nailed it with McAfee and Jimmy Smith. I still like McAfee more. I mean, McAfee, there's just things about
Jimmy
McAfee.
Smith only had 1 week.
Right.
Give it a couple of weeks before Jimmy Smith becomes
Yeah.
a regular rotation.
But I just love, and I give you credit for this, and I even gave you credit Friday too. You know, even when Rick Boogs comes out and he's rocking the guitar, and McAfee gets out of his chair and he's doing like the Beavis and Butthead thing, like, and Michael Cole is, like you said, he's forcing Michael Cole to be a little energetic.
Right.
I mean, it's like you're sitting in your house and you're with someone watching TV and they're next to you and they're delving off. You're like, get up, and you're like Pat McAfee is like the caffeine of that. I just love that natural energy, and I pointed out on that pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash, when the camera wasn't intended to be on those two guys, Pat McAfee is out of his chair, like just into it. And you know that is not choreographed. Jimmy Smith, I don't think
he's genuinely excited to be there.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things about Pat McAfee is that he is an actual wrestling fan. He really likes WWE. It's not made up. He's been a wrestling fan since a kid, you know? So it's stuff like that means more because I think other fans can smell it on you. You know, wrestling fans can smell the wrestling fan on someone else.
Absolutely.
If somebody's like an actual wrestling fan as opposed to like a casual viewer, you can smell the difference. You can smell that depression and basement tears. You can just, you know.
And I did notice tonight Jimmy Smith doing a lot of oh my gods, but remember, ECW is always my favorite promotion of all time. And trust me, if I had $1 every time I heard Joey Styles go, oh my God, I'm used to it. I'm kind of used to it. But hey, WWE's got two very, very good announcers. They're not going to increase viewership in any way, but at least it makes the viewing and the audible and someone play-by-play. It's just like a baseball game. You know, that's why, I've told you before, I'm looking right at it. I got about 8,000 baseball games in my collection. And I was never a big Chicago Cubs fan, but I have hundreds of 80s Chicago Cubs games simply because Harry Carey was doing the commentating. I would watch Cub games simply because of that. As weird as this sounds, and this reveals my age, when NBC would have baseball game of the week, that became one of my bucket list, one of the items on my bucket list, collecting games about 10 years ago. I tried to collect every NBC baseball game of the week that ever existed with Vince Scully and Joe Garagiola doing play-by-play. Because once they called the 86 Mets, and I just loved, so I would actually watch baseball games simply because of who was doing the play-by-play. I'm not saying that these guys will take that to the next level, but I can't complain about Jimmy Smith after 1 week. Not at all.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing that's going to make me think anything's going to change either. So,
well, give us some time. You got to be fair. You got to be fair and give the guy proper amount of time. Yeah. Like, I love the fact that he made a great first impression, but let's wait till he gets to an event. Let's wait till he gets to a big moment. Let's wait till see how the pressure builds up. Because tonight, you're right, this was a fantastic first shot. Even though there's a lot of pressure there, it's completely different than calling the big matches. You know what I mean?
He called MMA for 7 years. So, right. Not saying MMA or wrestling are the same, but he's called play-by-play, and he knows the cadence, and he knows where to hit his spots, which is a lot different when you're being an analyst, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
King of Hueco Mundo, we're thinking about you, brother. And as we said earlier, for everybody who has lost someone in the military over the years, for fallen heroes and for those currently protecting our country, you have our respect. No question. Not even disputed. So, and it sucks on social media that you have to be careful how you word things these days, even something like that.
On Memorial Day of all days, the fact that people were afraid of saying Happy Memorial Day was gruesome.
Joe Punches, Bigfoot, Fat Gatter, Get It Done. That's for Mish. Why does that sound familiar? Fat Gatter, Get It Done. Where's that from?
Bigfoot, Fat Gatter, Get Her Done.
What's Get It
Bigfoot,
Done?
Bigfoot, Fat Gatter, Get Her Done. Get your big feet hunting license out in Oklahoma for $35. Get to shoot all the big feats you want.
Well, who wrestling used to say that? Get her done.
That was
someone in wrestling used to say that.
Maybe somebody did, but I know.
Oh my God, who was it?
Comedian that started that.
So, someone in the chat's gonna pick it up. Somebody said it. Somebody said it. Get it done. Somebody in wrestling definitely said that because I do remember that somewhere.
Yeah, no, Larry the Cable Guy. Thank you, Mr.
Oh, maybe it was Larry the Cable Guy. Why did I think
Mr.
wrestling?
Mike, sorry.
I could swear somebody in wrestling did that. So
Get her done. Bigfoot, Fat Get her done.
Yeah, and much love to you, Joe. Joe, I will definitely be watching Foley later.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to watch that.
Much love, bro.
So Charlotte is out with Miz and Morrison today, and Rhea Ripley comes out. You could see slightly them now bringing Rhea Ripley back to babyface mode.
Yes.
She respects Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross comes out there. She wants a match with Charlotte. After she beats Charlotte, she wants a shot at the women's title, which ain't happening. And Charlotte basically says to Nikki that she could beat Nikki in 1 minute this week. Why the match wasn't 1 minute because of that, I have no idea. But here you got Charlotte and Rhea Ripley arguing with each other about how someone beat someone within 2 minutes last week, but didn't pin them. They just outlasted it. It's like stay in the ring with the bear from the 1960s. Stay in the ring with the bear for 45 seconds, you get $1,000. Let's all be honest here. Nikki Cross pinned nobody the last 2 weeks. And tonight, and I purposely took this screenshot, tonight it was a 2-minute match again. And tonight We were 40 seconds into this match, and still nothing had happened in the match because of the stare down between Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And what ends up happening, Charlotte takes too much time. She tries to get the upper hand on Nikki Cross. The clock runs out. Nikki Cross wins for a second week. Is this designed solely to make Charlotte and Rhea Ripley both look vulnerable? Because I don't think this helps Nikki Cross at all.
Actually, it does the exact opposite. It makes them look like it makes Nikki Cross look bad.
Yeah.
Even though she won the match, you're talking about a girl that's been with WWE on and off since 2016. She's not new. This kind of a match, this 2-minute match against the fucking champion, is supposed to be something for like a rookie, for a brand new upstart. You know, look back at one of the most prominent ones in WWF history, WWE history, with Dustin Rhodes versus the $1 Million Man, the 10-minute challenge. Like, that was there because Dustin was a complete fucking rookie, at least as far as the WWE audience was concerned. Doing this with Nikki Cross is really weird because we've seen her on TV before. She's been in tag team matches before. I just don't understand why she's like the catalyst for all of this. It's one-upsmanship using Nikki Cross's career as the joke. Yeah. I don't get it.
It's like Dana Brooke 2 years ago when she had like 2 or 3 fluke wins. And some people actually thought out there like, oh, my God, they're starting to... No.
But there's a lot of these. Like, the idea of the challenge thing has been around forever. Rodney Mack's White Boy Challenge. Sure. Chris Masters' Master Lock Challenge. Like, there's been all these different types of challenge. Even Kurt Angle, when he did the Tough Enough Challenge in the ring, and Daniel Puder almost killed him. And we don't talk about that because nobody wants to acknowledge that Daniel Puder existed. But there's been this challenge thing against rookies multiple times over the years. But this is the first time that I've ever seen them do it with someone who's clearly not a fucking rookie. Like, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah. I don't think this amounts to anything. This is just to chop weeks off. Chop weeks off. Even the Kofi McIntyre match, which we'll get into a little bit later. You know, last week it gets thrown out just for this week. And like we said last week, that's dumb stipulation that if Bobby Lashley gets involved, he's suspended for 90 days. Yeah. Why not something simple that if you get involved, you're stripped of the title?
Right. I don't know.
I mean, you know, it just, why overthink things, you know? It's almost like I said, with the Inner Circle thing. I mean, in the end, it worked. But, you know, when you realize with just having fans coming back, and the Inner Circle is probably the most over group in AEW right now, you don't split them up right on the cusp when you have fans returning. That's why, like I said, you don't take the title off of Roman Reigns anytime soon. You want to have live fans going in attendance to want to see someone try to take this belt off of Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre, it would be really interesting, everyone, if Drew McIntyre were to take that title off of Bobby Lashley, just to have Brock Lesnar show up. That would kind of almost coincide or put the exclamation point of what we said about this year. Hell in a Cell is truly the WrestleMania as far as the storyline shifts, because we always talked about it for a year that Drew McIntyre was the COVID champion.
Right.
He was the focal point of the championship during the COVID era. And yes, it was sad for Drew McIntyre that he was not able to hold that WWE championship up high, not even once in front of a live crowd. Wouldn't it be something, just throwing it out there, wouldn't it be something that Drew McIntyre beats Bobby Lashley in Hell in a Cell right before we have live fans back in attendance, And basically the Bobby Lashley run was to just mix things up and just shake it up a little bit during those final months of Thunderdome. Because that, I think, is a possibility. I'm not sure. I mean, we're not at Hell in the Cell yet. But I think about that in the back of my mind. Do not underestimate having fans in attendance. And WWE is not going to keep 2 heel champions for that very long unless they got some big-time babyface challengers.
You know, I think more and more as time goes on, it seems like that's going to be something that actually happens. The idea of Drew being able to hold the title in front of a live audience, it's almost WWE's thought process that I would assume in this case, that for him being the COVID champion, they're going to try to reward him for sticking at it out as long as he did with no audience. Because looking back in hindsight, while the matches that Drew was having were not, they weren't great. They weren't great feuds. They weren't great matchups. But the fact that he still kept people tuning in even during all of that, I think that there's some kind of a loyalty between WWE and Drew, that they will give him that moment where people can actually say thank you to Drew while he's holding the title.
Right.
I think it would be fair. I think the whole situation that happened to Drew, I mean, we've even talked about it before, even the buildup going into WrestleMania before COVID really took off. You know, he had some fire. There was a lot of people that wanted to see him. And at the end of all of this, it's been a weird ride. It's not been a fun roller coaster ride for the guy. And I think that that's why it's so refreshing to see Bob Lashley with the title now, because he carries it well. His character carries it well. And while I don't want to see Drew with another run at the title, I don't doubt that at some level, WWE almost feels responsible for the way that he was received last year and even earlier this year, and think that they can maybe do something to, fix that.
How would you
But
feel?
I don't want to see Bobby Lashley lose a title. I really don't. I like Bobby Lashley as a champion. He's got the swagger. He's got the look. He's doing well in the ring. If he sticks to being savage in the ring and being the savage Bobby Lashley in the ring, I don't want the cheap shot. I don't want the running away Bobby Lashley. I don't want the chicken shit Bobby Lashley. I want the savage Bobby Lashley in the ring and the gentleman outside of the ring. Because I think as far as that goes, and I know you brought up a good point earlier, saying, do you think that he's going to be the Rick and and MVP is going to be the Tully? And like, that's fine. I can see that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think Bobby Lashley does carry a certain class that the title needs. And he's the kind of champion that WWE needs right now, because the person that can finally take him down off that championship is going to be better than Bobby Lashley. And it's going to be somebody that I think a lot of people look forward to. But if you go back to Drew McIntyre, while I think WWE might do that, I don't think it's the right direction. I'm a little surprised that Kofi tonight, with the reference to Kofi's history, the reference to him being the title holder with Brock, the reference to all of this, of Kofi's career, for him to get pinned tonight, for him to get beaten tonight, I didn't like it. And he had a really good promo tonight. Kofi is not a guy who regularly cuts good promos, but tonight he cut a good promo, DT. And the weirdest thing of all is it just felt like it was all for nothing. I don't know. I want to believe that you're wrong when it comes to Kofi being a non sequitur in any of this. In the title hunt, you believe that Kofi Kingston will have nothing to do with it. He is just there to fill time and add space. Yeah, but I'd like to believe,
along. And a lot of people thought he was going to be in Hell in a Cell.
Worth more than one shot. I'd like to believe that Kofi Kingston is worth more than a flash in the pan. You know, I don't believe that Kofi Kingston is such a poor competitor that all he gets is one shot and then fuck him.
They had no one else to go up against Drew for a number one contendership at Hell in a Cell. They were, for some reason, not going back with Braun Strowman right now. So they had Riddle and Randy Orton split time against Xavier Woods. And I think Kofi goes back to that feud. And like I said, this was just done to take 2-3 weeks off of the path to Hell in a Cell. Next week, Kofi, I think, goes right back to Randy Orton and Riddle. And those two teams will probably have a little bit of an intense feud. And it'll be very interesting if we find out that WWE held Brock Lesnar until live fans were back. And yes, Hell in a Cell, live fans will not be there. But you want to have a certain direction about 2-3 weeks before you have live fans again, and the live fans return July 16th. So this gives you about a month to really put things together, and you want to have a certain direction. You want storylines, you want things to build to when they first come back. And when you have even these mega house shows, somebody's got to be chasing for this title. And right. I don't believe Brock Lesnar would be working house shows, but hey, with them coming back, with fans coming back, and if they sell crazy ass amounts of tickets, anything is possible right now. But that's why for 2 weeks, I said it 2 weeks ago when Kofi pinned Lashley. I didn't think there was any intention to put Kofi back in the world title picture. He is a credible opponent, and he won that match because of Drew causing Lashley. It was more of Lashley losing that match than Kofi winning that match.
Right.
And then them having the match last week just to have it thrown out, just to have it back again today with the same result of what it was 2-3 weeks ago, when Drew McIntyre spoiled Bobby Lashley's celebration. Remember the girls? Ah! At the end of the day, it's exactly what I told everyone it would be 3 weeks ago. It's going to be Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. It's going to be a repeat of...
But I'm saying for Kofi to have such a big moment, do we forget
Kofi's helping Drew?
Kofi's win was at WrestleMania? Do we forget how big of a moment that was when he had the championship? Like, it's amazing to me that WWE can cultivate that much of a craze, that much of an audience behind Kofi Kingston. And then, obviously, over time, it failed, and it went away, and he lost the championship. And then he was treated as a mid-carder again for a while, and then he was in tag teams. But it's amazing that you try it once, it succeeds, and then it doesn't succeed. And then you just never try it again. Well, I think Kofi at least deserves the amount of respect to be put into these scenarios as a legitimate contender. Well, I just don't understand that. For a company that's literally clawing at anyone that can take the title and become the guy that fans get behind, it's amazing to me that they found that guy and it didn't work once, so we never try it again. We're just done with the guy.
Right now,
he's just going to be mid-card Dolph Ziggler for life. And it's like, I don't know if I'm behind that. Look, I understand why people don't want Kofi as champion. Huh?
There's plenty of time to revisit that. Right now they're doing Land of the Giants.
I don't see any reason why they couldn't do it now. I don't see why he can't be a part of that.
You know
now.
who followed that same path recently? Contract or no contract issues? Daniel Bryan. Almost identical. No plans of Daniel Bryan becoming heavyweight champion again.
I agree. But they turned that
what they did on
SmackDown
line was the exact same thing.
Right, but they at least turned that into a storyline. Kofi just feels like a non sequitur. He just feels like, it's just Kofi. It's just Kofi. Put him back with Xavier or something. It's just Kofi.
Well, Daniel Bryan doesn't have an Xavier
at least had the audacity to have this big WrestleMania match that he ended up losing because of bullshit. And then when they went to revisit it, he still lost. But it's like they even at least gave him the platform to be that competitor, to be that championship level competitor again. They're not doing that with Kofi. Once again, I'm not saying that Kofi's the guy. I'm just saying that in a world where you're hurting for storylines, in a world where WWE is hurting for good competition or believable competition, they have a guy that they keep ignoring.
Yeah, I think there's still time, but right now it just feels like Land of the Giants, and I'm very curious to see if Brock Lesnar returns. And if Brock Lesnar returns, that is going to derail a whole bunch of feuds on Raw. So, but I think Kofi goes back with, look, even earlier today, I love their outfits. Don't get me wrong. This was their outfits tonight, doing a little bit of tribute to Power Rangers. But in the end, You know, even when they announced Kofi Kingston in his match tonight against Drew McIntyre, you know, they announced him as New Day's Kofi Kingston. You know, so they do not want to move away from the fact that they are a tag team right now. And I think in the end, they're going to go back. And look, them feuding with Randy Orton and Riddle is not that bad. I mean, it's what it is right now. And look, Kofi helped Drew. They had 2 weeks of some pretty damn good in-ring work. The main event tonight was excellent. Could have gone either way. I know a lot of people out there aren't thrilled with the outcome of them having another match. I'm still, like I said, I think it's going to be inside the cell. And you got to keep that thought in the back of your mind with live fans returning. Could it be that Drew... Now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Drew regains it right now, but it's something that you obviously have to think about. So, sure. Speaking of Land of the Giants, Mace and T-Bar, we talked about it earlier. They came out there and pretty much squashed the Lucha House Party in about 3 minutes. Double choke slam. I'm telling you, man, I know this is unpopular. And I'm not one of those that's going to write online unpopular opinion. But I know you and I have been behind Dio Madden and Dominic Dijakovic since day one.
Yeah.
We hated the Retribution storyline, but we always liked these two guys.
Right.
These guys need some momentum. I want to see these two guys with gold before the end of 2021.
I can see that. I just don't think the time is right now. Once again, we're still recovering from WrestleMania. We've had this discussion a couple times now. This is when WWE is trying new things, trying new platforms, seeing where they land. I wouldn't doubt that they get put into something before SummerSlam even. I would say by SummerSlam, they might be in the hunt, and that's where they deserve to be.
Yeah. We'll know soon the location for SummerSlam. Friday, I put up 5 locations that are in the front runner right now. A lot of people still think Nevada is the way to go. And, hey, I know we're jumping back and forth a little bit, but AEW, you know, coming back with All Out. In September. What was it, September 5th?
Yeah.
In Chicago? You making the trip?
No, Hoffman Estates.
Okay.
They're not near Chicago. They're in Hoffman Estates.
Okay. What do you think?
They're just saying Chicago for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, no, that'll be fun. That's in a little bit. That should be fun for people. I bet they'll enjoy it.
You gonna go?
They're looking forward to it. At the Sears Center or the Now Arena or whatever they want to call it now, because now it's called the Now Arena, I think.
Are you going? Not sure.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
I might. I mean, you know what? I've already had a bunch of people reach out going, "Hey, if I go to that thing, can I crash by your place?" 'Cause I'm right outside O'Hare. I'm literally 2 minutes from O'Hare. So if you're flying in O'Hare, I'm right next to you. If you're flying into Midway, good fucking luck. So, you know. And that's the thing, too, is people don't understand that. It's like, oh, yeah, it's right next to O'Hare, Mish. What are you talking about? I'm like, that's great. Make sure you take the right flight because only some flights go to O'Hare and only some flights go to Midway. And if you end up at Midway, it's a long drive to the Now Arena. So,
can I say one thing that I didn't like about last night, AEW?
Sure.
It's going to be such a small thing for everyone out there. But I'm kind of glad that this picture came out so these websites can stop reporting people talking in character as news. MJF is an example. MJF, throughout the whole weekend with FanFest, was being interviewed about fans coming back, and he said, you know, this is terrible. I don't want to be around people. I don't want to be around fans. That's his character. And people are reporting it as news and getting triggered over it. So this picture came out yesterday. I don't know who's the person that originally posted it. Somebody told me it was one of the members of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which honestly doesn't surprise me because this picture is almost as bad as chat room, who is the person? Was it R-Truth? Who was the wrestler in Italy that took the picture with a whole bunch of people. And at that time, Braun Strowman was feuding with Roman Reigns. And they posted that picture online of them in Italy. And they were all posing together. And here's Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns hanging out with each other. And then whoever posted that picture took it down almost immediately and got a lot of heat for it. Chat room will tell. There's like a 5-second delay. So for my audio only, if you don't hear the answer right away. But someone will pick up on it right away. Who was the person that posted that infamous picture of them in Italy and got tons of heat and took the picture down? I can't remember who. Titus O'Neil? Yeah, Kavan, you're right. Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil was the one who did it. Now, you're more surprised when a wrestler does it. I kind of expect it more that someone that doesn't understand the importance of, even though kayfabe is dead, but still, this day and age, everybody thinks that MJF hates the world, despises everything. Somebody posted this picture yesterday. This is them watching the pre-recorded part of last night before they went and finished everything up. That's why if you look, MJF is not bloodied yet. They were watching the first parts of everything. And, I honestly don't know who the person is that posted that picture, but I thought they made a little bit of a mistake. I know the truth, and most of you out there know the sauce, the sausage making. But I think whoever posted that picture, made, unnecessary mistake. Just figured you all want to see that because I know this was taken down almost immediately. And yes, without a doubt, I miss kayfabe, but, especially in the MJF department, when you have websites legitimately reporting this guy in character as wrestling news, that's when you know that MJF is nailing it. And I don't think a picture like this really helps.
Right.
And thank you, Crazy Cruiserweight. It was the head of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't know anything about this guy. I'm not a fan of the Jaguars. I don't want to criticize him. But for me as a wrestling fan and an old school wrestling fan, this guy is an absolute dope for doing that. I don't know what the fuck the purpose was of it, but, you could tell that was not a real deep wrestling fan because AEW, I don't think, would have allowed a picture like that. Very stupid. Very stupid. I understand kayfabe is dead and everything like that, but a picture like that, to me, what are you trying to prove? That everybody was hanging back at, you don't think that every promotion, sitting back and watch them and enjoying it, that happens everywhere. Yes, they're a family. Yes, they get along. Yes, they are really going out of their way to make things special. No doubt about it whatsoever. Photo like that is absolutely unnecessary, in my opinion. So, just figured I'd share it randomly. Now
that came out.
Chats.
When did that come out, though? They came out after the match, right?
Yeah, it came out shortly after the pay-per-view. But during the pay-per-view, because you know the exact spot where it stopped from being pre-recorded, right? When they went live?
Right.
You know the spot yesterday during that match where it went from pre-recorded to live?
No. When was that?
When MJF, when Chris Jericho said, "You truly are an asshole," and smashed MJF into the glass door, that was the final part of the pre-record. Okay. He got put through the door. They stopped the recording, and that's where the pre-recorded ended. When they went live, MJF was now juiced. MJF was hanging over the door, and when Jericho pulled him back and MJF was bloody, that's where the live part of it started. We talked about it on Friday that expect majority of it be pre-recorded, but it was done so perfectly seamless. Could not comply. I thought it was a work of art.
Right.
Thought it was great. So, so getting back to Raw tonight, we were talking about Xavier Woods a little while ago. Xavier has a match with Randy Orton tonight. Riddle talking to Damian Priest about live fans coming back. Wants Damian Priest to teach him a little bit of Spanish. He brings up I'm Your Papi from Eddie Guerrero and all that. Riddle, not as much of an idiot as what they did a little whiles earlier. Randy Orton, little control over Riddle, but Riddle marked the fuck out. Randy Orton uses the Bro Derek on Xavier Woods to get the win. And this is 2 weeks in a row now that Team RK Bro beats Xavier Woods. That's why I think Kofi goes back in the mix next week. What'd you think of that match for while it lasted?
It was all right. I mean, I still think that Kofi should have gotten the win. I really do. I don't think that he should be written off so easily. That's my biggest concern with the whole Kofi experiment, is that he's just there to just pad Drew McIntyre a little bit. Like, if we're going to the point where it's going to be Drew versus Bob, what's the point of Kofi? I don't get it.
To help Drew get through 2 weeks of
but then that's just filler.
Why Drew should get another rematch?
I know.
That's really what it was. 2 weeks ago, Drew interrupted Bobby Lashley's celebration. And when Bobby Lashley said he's like a bug mosquito that won't go away, if Hell in a Cell was a little bit closer, and it could have simply been like, there's only one way to get rid of this mosquito, Hell in a Cell.
Right.
Or Drew could have challenged Lashley to that. But they had so many weeks between, and they couldn't get from point A to point B directly. They needed somebody who is a legitimate, person, well-liked, former champion, that could throw a little monkey wrench in it. So they had Kofi versus, remember that week where Kofi took on Lashley? It didn't make sense because Bobby Lashley made an open challenge. People accepted it. Why weren't they allowed to wrestle? That whole night made no sense. And why wouldn't any of these wrestlers in storyline have a problem with Kofi going out there and getting the match anyway? It made zero sense. T-Bar and Mace, helping Lashley not too long ago, they kind of, wanted the challenge. The minute Kofi comes out instead in storyline, why didn't they come out and try to annihilate Kofi? You could have simply had other people come out that also wanted the shot, like Damian Priest and others, and they could have brawled T-Bar and Mace in the back, and that left Kofi, and he gets the match anyway. The whole thing didn't really make sense the way it was put on TV, but this was designed to just chop 2 weeks off and get back to the inevitable, which was Drew versus Bobby Lashley. So,
right.
We'll see. Who's Jordan Hoffman? Who are these Hoffman?
He was saying, okay, so I think Ken made a mistake, and he was trying to get me to say Booker Huffman.
Booker T. Huffman?
Because he was saying that Hoffman Estates is named after a wrestler or something like that, or it has the same name as a wrestler. And it's like, I think he was trying to say Booker Huffman.
Oh.
But Huffman and Hoffman are spelled differently. They're different words. So he was saying Hoffman. So I didn't know who the fuck Hoffman was as a wrestler. So I went online. I went on Online World of Wrestling, a few other places. And there's just a slew of people named Hoffman in wrestling. So I just started throwing all the names I saw with Hoffman in it that have been in professional wrestling. So it's like, there you go. One of those has got to be right?
Shayna Baszler losing to Reginald with the fruit roll-up.
What's that?
I mean, I understand why this is happening, but this is just awful. I have nothing against Reginald. The guy comes off as a likable guy. He's very, very talented with the Cirque du Soleil stuff. But
yeah, he looks good. Like, his actual moves are really cool. I just don't know how in the hell you incorporate that into wrestling.
Right. And you really can't, because it looks like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It looks like every time Tom Cat tries to dive onto Jerry Mouse like flies or slips through his arms and Jerry Mouse gets away. I know it's an outdated reference, everyone, but that's what it feels like to me. It just looks like a bad cartoon. And, the thing that really just upsets me about this, and I know I'm repeating something I said before, but you think WWE would have learned from the Sasha Bianca storyline how horrendous that came across on TV. And that was leading to WrestleMania. And if anybody out there thinks that it wasn't that bad and WWE didn't view it as that bad, well, go back and look at the WrestleMania package that led up to Sasha versus Bianca, and about 95% of the Reginald storyline was not included in that package. The Reginald stuff with Bianca and Sasha was awful. Then they did the Reginald stuff on SmackDown with Nia and Shayna. Then they tried to tease it a little bit more with Nia and Reginald being her boo. And then Reginald beats Shayna and Nia in the back tonight. It's like, oh, you won. Now, if I was Shayna Baszler, why wouldn't I fucking take Nia Jax by the neck and throw her against the wall like, you're happy? You're happy that he embarrassed me? There's so many holes in these storylines with this guy. And that's why I joked last week when I said, please, we need Alexa Bliss to kill Reginald. When they announced that he was going to be in the playoffs tonight, I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, whoever heard me, thank you. But motherfucking Shayna Baszler shows up, beats the shit out of Reginald. Shayna Baszler is a little bit tired of this, and next week, her and Alexa Bliss are going to have a talk. You're in the fucking playoffs right now. Talk right now. Why do you need a week? And talking storyline, it made no sense. Next week, we're going to have a talk.
Got to think about what you're going to say, DT. You need a week to think about what you're going to say. Oh, yuck.
And she's looking at the doll. She's like, you're just a doll. She's talking to a fucking doll.
Maybe she was talking to Alexa Bliss's midriff.
You know, we're going to get the dumb special effects again. You know, what are you going to do? Have the black liquid come out of Shayna Baszler's eyes? I mean, it's just...
Sure.
Oh, my God. But if this whole intention is to go after Nia, why does this not feel so directly to Nia? Especially after today when Nia was so ecstatic that Reginald won.
Because you have three other people involved. You're right. It's supposed to be Shayna eventually getting to Nia, but you have three other people involved. You got Reginald, you got Alexa Bliss, and you got the fucking doll. There's three other entities involved in this whole feud. It's very complex for being something that should be very simple. Shayna should just be sick of Nia's shit, sick of her boyfriend, and sick of fucking Alexa Bliss and the doll, and just say, go to blazes, everyone, you know?
Listen, I'm going to be an asshole for a minute. Oh, I don't have it around. If Shayna really wants to troll Alexa Bliss next week, Shayna needs to show up with Huskus the pig.
Oh, that's not right.
That's James Pascal's fault in the chat room. Seriously.
Nah, that'd be... You don't show up with somebody's dead pet, dude. That's right.
That was so awful. I felt so bad for her. And I even said... Actually, we said on the show last Monday, the whole scenario, you know, when unfortunately people don't understand. And, you know, look, it's very easy to tweet 300 characters and everybody, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's get behind this movement. There's no reason why big animals can't be treated by a local veterinarian. That's cruel. That's terrible. And these people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. When you have a pig that's this big, you can't just have a local vet show up that's used to handling dogs and cats. You can't even figure out the level of anesthesia you got to give to an animal that big. They're not going to take on that responsibility and put an animal under to try to take care of whatever the issue is. That's why vets turn it down and they say, no, we only handle dogs, cats, and birds. Not trying to be cruel. These people online, these are the same people that people remember this. Back in February of last year, I told everyone, you watch, you're going to see a ton of people out there pushing on others. We're in COVID, you're locked down, you're home, go adopt a pet. And I came up and I said, you watch how many motherfuckers, once this COVID starts going away, they start ditching their animals on the side of the road, giving it up to these shelters, can't take care of the pet anymore because they got to go back to work. And what happened? You always saw these big news reports saying there's thousands and thousands of animals that now don't have a home that might be put to sleep because all these people adopted pets during COVID that they couldn't eventually keep taking care of. But the people online with the social media, with the feel-good friendly tweets, everybody should adopt a pet right now. These are the most careless people out there. And I felt so bad for Alexa Bliss. And the one thing that I hope that is learned from this, and I think Alexa Bliss obviously learned from this, and obviously we're not talking show right now, I'm being a human being, is Alexa Bliss now, this goes out to anyone else, you ever get a large pet, a pig, you live down south, you want to get a pet pig, you better do all of your research first. When I first got my dog, I had an old refrigerator and I had a magnet on my refrigerator, and it was the phone number for the hospital, animal hospital, phone number for this, phone number for that, phone number for this. This way, in case of an emergency, I'm already prepared. I got to call this. And when my dog got deathly sick, and for 6 years, my whole entire life turned upside down, giving him insulin at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the morning every day. And people don't understand that 6 years I did podcasting. On Mondays, I got maybe 90 minutes of sleep if I'm lucky. But I did it because I loved my pet. But at the same time, if his sugar level went too low, if I had this problem, I had this. And it seemed like Alexa Bliss was not prepared for an emergency for an animal that is that big. But to call the vets bad people, horrible people, how dare they turn something down, that's cruel, they killed an animal, this and that, that's just awful.
Now, let me ask you something, because I'm not sure about this. Are pigs considered exotic pets, or are they in the same vein as like
no, they're not
big
considered
old
exotic
rabbits
pets
and stuff like that?
No.
Huh?
I mean, you know, look, you're not going to.
So then, what's so different about a vet handling it? Because I mean, you're right. Pigs come in all different sizes, but then so do dogs. You can have a Pomeranian, and then you can have like a Saint Bernard. Totally different sized animals, but I mean, a dog is a dog. For a pig,
the makeup of a pig is different than the makeup of a dog or a cat. So
right, but if it's not an exotic animal, don't you think it's kind of common practice?
Right, but when you're talking about a pig that could be hundreds of pounds, you know, it's not that you could just walk into a local vet that uses this much anesthesia to put a dog or a cat under, and then what do you do?
But didn't she have a potbelly pig? She didn't have a big pig. She didn't have like a sow.
Anyone out there know the size of the pig? This pig was huge.
Yeah, it was like about that big.
What?
It was like a potbelly pig.
This pig was like this.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
No, her pig was big. I saw pictures of her hanging out in the bed with the pig.
Huh.
This pig was big. Daniel says it's considered exotic if you get a foreign pig. How do you even know? I mean, you get a pig from France. Does it have like the wee
because they speak in French.
Like, how do you know?
That's why. Those exotic pigs, they talk in French. You know, they sound like the Charlotte's Web pig, you know.
Yeah, it was not. No, it wasn't a Charlotte's Web pig. This was like it made. Put it this way, I think that pig shit out feces bigger than the size of Huskus.
Because I saw a picture of her with a tiny pig, but that must have been
that pig was 200 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Big.
Well, maybe it was a sow. Maybe it was a sow pig.
Yeah. But so anyway, next week we got a talk between Shayna and Alexa. Whatever. I mean, I don't know how much to add to that. We already talked about the women's tag match. We talked about Mace and T-Bar. We touched on it earlier, but Cedric beating Shelton with a thumb in the eye in no time. Is this the end of the feud?
Oh,
or does Shelton thumb him in the eye next week?
I don't know, dude. I don't even fucking know. There is nothing that makes this match look any good. Cedric standing up there going, I'm prime time now. Yeah, you are, buddy. Yeah, you are. This sucked. Yeah. I don't know. What is he going to come out there with next week? An eye patch? And then he can't thumb him because he has an eye patch on?
3 weeks ago, when they had that first match and Shelton won, and I still think about it, Adnan Virk said, end of a rivalry. And I remember you and I went on show like, huh? What? This was the only match they had. But they went out of their way to say on TV it was the end of a rivalry. Maybe Adnan Virk went, just assumed that. But the way it was portrayed on TV, that was it. The following week, there was no match. So we thought, well, that kind of sucked. They had a 5-minute match, and that was it. Then 2 weeks later, they have a return match. Oh, the rivalry's not over yet. Oh, and now Cedric doesn't have the win anymore. Shelton doesn't have the win anymore. Cedric comes back and beats him. Thumb to the eye.
Yeah.
So we get a third match now.
Way.
Same shit today. I told you, I said this 2 weeks ago. I'm afraid that Shelton now will be enhancement
That's how Shelton goes out, thumb to the eye. Great. I mean, seriously, great. That's how you're gonna wrap up this guy's career in WWE. Thumb to the eye. Whatever, man.
Shelton has still got it, man. I mean, you know, you can give people rubs not just by losing, by having awesome matches. And this is a formula, I think, that just WWE really abuses. And like I said, the Sheamus stuff tonight was a perfect example. No, we can't just have Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo show up and just fuck with Sheamus, not even a match, and then Sheamus wants them at a pay-per-view or something like that, or they make the challenge that Sheamus accepts. No, we have to make Sheamus look like a goof and be distracted with a fruit roll-up twice and break his nose in the process.
Right.
Because they think that's the only way that it makes sense for Humberto and Ricochet to take on Shelton at the pay-per-view. I mean, to take on Sheamus at the pay-per-view. And now, I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine in time for the pay-per-view, but I'm rooting, like we said earlier, I'm rooting for Sheamus more now than before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Omos and AJ Styles, they beat Jaxson, Ryker, and Elias.
We kind of covered this already a little bit. I mean,
no, well, we talked about what happened at the end of the match. I mean, the match itself was a lot of fun. Omos, you know, they're doing a good job with Omos being, you know, when you hear Elias say, I don't remember ever facing anybody this big. I'm looking like at half of the roster on Raw. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But, you know, that back and forth.
It was smart. The way the match started off, they caught AJ off guard. I thought that was pretty clever that Elias was in the ring and then, you know, Ryker came up from behind, or other way around, Ryker was in the ring and Elias came up from behind him and Ryker jumped out the ring because he wasn't the legal man. It was smart. The way that they did it, I'm like, oh, that was kind of clever. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen all the time. That was a clever little move. And so they had AJ on the ropes for most of the time. They were switching out. They knew, and the announcers did a good job of saying, hey, this is how they're going to do it. They're going to keep AJ isolated away from Omos and eventually try and get the pin. And then they started talking about, well, Corey was bringing up, he's like, well, AJ's also a vet. He's been through this shit more than a few times. You're not going to be able to catch him off guard. So it was a good combination of what was going on inside the ring versus what the announcers were saying. It was good symmetry going on there.
You think the split was a little bit too random?
Premature? Yes.
Because last
week,
it was
premature.
Yeah, I mean, if
it was premature,
we knew last week that we knew last week we were going back to live fans. Yet Elias still helped Jaxson Ryker win against AJ Styles. Right. And they have a tag team title match. Why would you not want to try to win the tag belts? To see Elias walk down, he should have done that last week and let AJ beat the shit out of him.
Let me paint a picture for you. Maybe he wasn't turning on Ryker. Maybe he's just a chicken shit when it comes to Omos. Because when he was supposed to take that tag from Ryker, he would have been facing Omos because AJ was going into tag and Omos. So is this an official heel turn, or is this Elias is just a huge chicken shit and doesn't want to face Omos?
He could have done old school Chris Candido. If Elias was petrified of facing Omos, when Jaxson Ryker would go for the tag, Elias could be like, I can't.
Right.
You know, like just give an excuse why you can't get tagged in. Or you go down off the ring and you're walking around and
he did go down off the ring. He did back up.
No, but he intentionally refused the tag. He could have done something else to act like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. He doesn't want to face Omos. Or he could have stood on the ring and be like, no, go.
You're right.
You know, but instead, jumping down and walking to the back, that was him turning heel. Despite what social media wants everybody to think.
Okay. I'm just saying, there is the possibility that this was just leading up to the fact that Elias has a new branch of his character being afraid of Omos,
Yeah, I don't know how many fans want to see Elias versus Jaxson Ryker, which may happen next week. And then what?
I think more fans want to see Elias versus Omos now, though. I think now, because of this, you almost built up a way that now people want to see Omos kick the shit out of Elias. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that there's more invested in fans wanting to see Omos kick the shit out of Elias? Or do you think there's more fans invested in Ryker versus Elias?
Yeah. Well, it feels like they want to rush this conclusion of Ryker and Elias. I don't know what happens after next week, but it just does not feel like something going to Hell in a Cell. I don't think anybody cares about that. So. And really, other than that, we just had the main event, which you and I already talked about in pretty good detail. A phenomenal main event. They tried to generate a little bit of heat early because they had Drew cut a promo and kind of insinuate that Kofi has been held back because of his family and everything. And I tell you, when people get upset when they hear Cody has focus groups testing some of the promos that he wants to cut, WWE's got focus groups online testing the reaction of some of the things that are said or done. And they took notice tonight of how many people online that really took personal of what Drew McIntyre said about Kofi's family. Because I think Kofi's now, him and his wife are now expecting their third child. So they tried to play on a little bit of reality, though, but Kofi did not get squashed. I mean, this could have gone either way. In the end, Drew McIntyre wins, and they actually had to go a minute over tonight, which was interesting that USA didn't cut him off. But we're left with Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley once again. And now it's just a matter of, one, is it going to be inside the cell? And number two, where is Braun Strowman?
Isn't he injured or something like that? Isn't he injured?
I don't know if he's injured.
Isn't he injured? Like he has some kind of nagging injury or something like that?
Maybe he's not 100%, but still, why can't he just come out and cut a promo? I mean, I know he cut that one promo like, I'm excited about fans coming back, but other than that, like he just disappeared from the storylines.
Yeah.
So, but not a bad episode of Raw. I kind of like this week better than last week. Although I could have done without the fruit roll-up by Reginald and another 2-minute challenge by Nikki Cross,
I agree. Poor thing, man. I feel bad for Nikki. I really do. I know.
Yeah, where does she go from here?
Don't give a shit about her, but
do they do another 2-minute challenge? A 3-way next week? Gauntlet match?
Well, 2-minute challenge, a 3-way 2-minute challenge? Well, sounds like I'm up for that one.
Yeah, Asuka, now it feels like creative, not ready for Asuka. I tell you, it's weird how it seems like WWE can only push 2 single women. I don't mean marriage. I'm talking about title. 2 single women to the top. And everybody else is either got to disappear or be next to non-existent. If you really think about it, even on SmackDown, you got Bianca and Bayley, really the 2 with the rivalry right now, and everybody else is either disappeared like Sasha or so far down on the food chain. It does not feel like you have a whole ton of people like waiting in the wings that are number 1 contender value. Even NXT is starting to feel like that.
I think but at this point, like I said, you got to give it a little time. I really think that the big time that we have to wait for is when the fans come back, and then we can start really digging into this, because I think right now they're trying to keep everybody fresh.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow night is NXT. Should be a fun show. We got Pete Dunne versus Kyle O'Reilly versus Johnny Gargano. Winner of that match takes on Karrion Kross at In Your House. And by the way, In Your House is in 2 weeks.
Sure is.
It's Texas, coming up quickly, everyone. So, Texas, that should be pretty interesting. I'm going with Pete Dunne. I want to see Pete Dunne. And like I said last week, I don't know if you saw the clip, but, I used the chicken. It's the only prop I have with like feet or fingers. But I got to see Pete Dunne attack Scarlett. Not punch her, but just grab her fingers and do that. That will add nuclear heat for the match if Pete Dunne takes on Karrion Kross in your house. I want to see that. I want to see Pete Dunne grab Scarlett's fingers and do that. Not really hurt her, obviously, but I think that will intensify that feud where I think live fans will go, Kross is gonna kill you. Telling you. But even NXT, it just feels like, Adam Cole needs to come back. Bobby Fish, it almost feels like he's going away again. What the hell's going on with Roderick Strong? So, we'll see what happens. But anyway, everyone, this is programming for this week. Tomorrow night on Patreon, Mish and I will be up at 10:05 p.m. We actually have the Q&A posted for everybody on Patreon right now because tomorrow Patreon turns over, and I know some of you don't get access to Patreon for a day or two while they turn over. So we made the Q&A open to everyone. Of course, our VIP family, their questions will be answered first. But just understand that when we have that many patrons, keep the questions brief. And if you're going to ask multiple, keep them in rapid fire because we can't do a 3-hour show. So we want to get through everybody's and answer everybody's with a decent amount of time. Also, this Wednesday night, and by the way, shout out to La Nostra Familia, great channel members here, the family. This Wednesday, AEW Dynamite is not on again. AEW airs Friday. So this week, we're doing a repeat of last week. This Wednesday, I will be up here, not at 10:05 p.m. Eastern, but at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. This Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we'll cover NXT. We'll talk a little bit more about AEW, the fallout from Double or Nothing, some preview for Friday, and if I get some ratings info, I will share it with you as well. Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, is Wrestling Soup, WrestlingSoup.com. Get it on our Discord. Mish also has Wrestling Soup Patreon, patreon.com/Wrestling Soup. And then Thursday night at 10:05, I'll be back here for your regular edition of the Don Tony Show. I have to go pull some New Jack stuff. I'm having a little bit of a difficult time right now because there is a second hard drive that I took out of a computer about 5 years ago that I'm trying to locate over here that has a lot of those shows on there. So I'm going to try to search tomorrow, Wednesday, for it, but I think it might be boxed away and I might have to do some searching, but it hasn't been lost. And then Friday, since everybody loved the Dynamite watch-along last week, Friday I'm going to do it again. I'll be up here at 10 o'clock. We'll do a SmackDown recap, and we'll do a live watch-along of AEW Dynamite. So we'll have a pretty busy week, and if you're part of our Patreon family, join us tomorrow night. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So with that said, any closing thoughts? You want to comment on this guy signing with AEW before we go?
Man, can't wait for his I'm happy for the guy. Good for AEW for signing Mark Henry. It's a very positive move on their part. We've kind of made a couple of jabs at some of the previous people that AEW has hired from WWE Big Show. But Mark Henry is actually a good get. He seems like somebody that actually cares about the wrestlers, the younger talent, and good for them for picking him up, So
when they signed Paul White, and the clips are up here, the first thing I said was, number one, we have no idea what he's going to be doing. Everybody immediately assumed that this guy was returning to the ring right away. This guy's doing a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, but the one thing I thought was so important was he was going to be a mentor for a lot of people, a lot of young people out there. And that's what AEW probably needs more than anything else. They don't just need the inner circle, and I don't mean the group. I'm talking about the inner group of AEW wrestlers that are also working in the office, that they're all like a cohesive family unit, despite some of the rumors you hear online.
Right.
You need more than that. You need some veterans. You need some people who have been around for decades to be the mentors of these very young people that are being groomed. You don't want them, with all due respect, you don't want them just groomed from Kenny Omega and Houdat and the Young Bucks and Jericho. You know, you don't want people that are so closely tied to AEW. You know, you want people that are veterans in the business that, you know, can give some pointers, psychological, pouring, behavior, whatever it is. And Big Show, you know, you want to call them coaches, you want to call them producers, you want to call them trainers, but to have a Paul White, a Mark Henry, you know, Tully Blanchard behind the scenes and a few others, that's a huge plus for those young AEW wrestlers that really have no guidance. You know, a lot of them, social media was their guidance. How people reacted to their stuff was their guidance. You know, so you get these veterans getting in their ear, and that is a good thing. And I think the signing of Mark Henry, you know, we joked yesterday that it seems like every person on the way out, Randy Orton has to kick them on the way out, but they're not cast-offs.
Right.
Why should their wrestling livelihood end with WWE? And most of these people online that criticize AEW for hiring people that WWE no longer wants, like Christian or Paul White or Mark Henry, you know, most of these people, you know, I don't think they're kind of like acing it in the employment department on their own. So the fact that these wrestlers have some life after WWE and not being thrown on TV like Dixie Carter and, you know, overusing people that are way, way, way past their prime just for name value, these guys are going to be more important behind the scenes than in front of the camera.
I agree.
So next week, we'll talk a little bit more about this stuff with WWE and New Japan. You know, our quick thoughts on it, very simple. You know, we've been saying for months and months and months and months and months, this forbidden door that everybody wants to attach to, there is no forbidden door. There's been some handshake working agreements with some of these companies, and that's it. That's it. And somebody pointed it out to me earlier today, even though we've talked about it ad nauseum over here. But if AEW had a legit contract with New Japan and WWE started discussing with New Japan, you would have lawsuits, threaten everything, cease and desist. No, instead you have Tony Khan cutting a promo, criticizing Nick Khan. And like I said on Friday, WWE's, how they do business is totally different how AEW does business. You have a $1 billion publicly traded company with contracts that are 90 pages long, and you have AEW where their contract is 3 pages long. So just because they're both wrestling companies doesn't mean that they operate the same way. So, and Mish will tell everybody as well, from what we hear, the plan with WWE and New Japan, more than anything, is that WWE sends some wrestlers to Japan and they have a big super show. And it'll be similar to what WWF did in the 90s, where they would have some WWF wrestlers taking on New Japan stars. You're not going to have an influx of New Japan stars coming to the United States, hanging out here for 3 or 4 months, going on Raw and SmackDown. You might see an appearance here and there, but this is more of setting up super shows than anything else. And because Japan is only about 5% vaccinated, none of this is happening anytime soon. But I think Mish will agree. This is a good thing. I don't think anybody would complain. AJ Styles
it's
versus
another
Okada,
venture for WWE to make more money. That's what it is. It's another reason that WWE can expand their audience to new countries, and make more money in return. I wouldn't be surprised if the NJPW stuff isn't for anything NJPW, but a platform for WWE to do super shows, like you said, and make money in Japan and have it promoted by NJPW, so that everybody gets a piece. You know what I mean? It's a different country, different culture, different wrestling style, but WWE is a global company. There's no reason that they shouldn't be able to run regular shows out of Japan. And I think that doing a deal with NJPW might be one of those ways that WWE can have a couple of crossover acts. You can have a couple of wrestlers from NJPW and WWE have a match, but predominantly it's there so that WWE can make more money.
And for those that are asking them, why did Tony Khan cut that promo? I'll give you the answer in a picture.
It was approved.
Yeah, because of this. Tony Khan will be a character on TV. He is trying to be more of a character. Cutting that promo, talking about the con man of Connecticut, talking about Nick Khan. This is Tony Khan being a character. Yeah. This is not how you really do business in real life. Trust me.
Yeah, not
Shad
like
Khan
calling out the competition's staff. What's his next promo going to be against the against WWE's receptionist? Yeah. Is that who's he going to talk shit about next? Maybe he could talk shit about the custodial engineers in Connecticut.
When people out there, when Tony Khan does a scrum, and somebody asks, did New Japan approve of this? Oh, yeah, they signed off on it. Notice how nobody brings up any specific names. It's just, you have to really look a little bit deeper in this. This is Tony Khan having some fun. And this is why every time when Tony Khan cuts a promo like that, he's got Tony Schiavone next to him with the facial reactions.
Right.
That's why the Impact promos are there. It's for Tony Khan to be the evil, owner of AEW. So that's why on Impact, that's why he cuts it. The only problem is, do you really want to poke the bear like that? Because in the end, there's no forbidden door. There is no forbidden door. If anybody really takes a step back, this was, hey, has AEW sent any of their wrestlers to perform for NWA? No. Has AEW sent any of their wrestlers to perform to New Japan? No. Why does it sound so one-sided? So when you talk about forbidden door and stuff like that, no. This was simply some wrestlers need to get work in the middle of a COVID pandemic. 6 months from now, let's see how much NWA is still on AEW content or Impact Wrestling or New Japan. When we're out of COVID and these other promotions, let's see how much involvement there is. AEW was willing to be the recipient of some wrestlers because it benefited them on TV. That's why you never saw Impact stars ever try to invade AEW as a storyline, because that wasn't the intentions. There is no forbidden door. But people out there need to latch on a phrase or a gimmick or this and that. The only question is, at the end of the day, will Tony Khan be this or will Tony Khan be this? Wait, what did I do? Oh, well, or will he be this? Hey, what the hell did I do? Oh, okay, this. Yeah. Will he be that or this? So, I don't know if he will be Mr. McCon or will he be Dixie Carter. We will see. But anyway, Mish, before we get out of here, oh, yeah, see, I got to start enlarging the video. So when we go back and forth, you could talk and then I could talk and we could go back and forth and do stuff like this. So,
sure.
Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts before we cut it?
No, man, I'm good, dude. Not really much to say. So thank you very much for having me on. Hope everybody had a good time, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. So,
all right, my friend. I will talk to you tomorrow on Patreon. Have a good night, and thanks for hanging out tonight, as always. Much love.
Much love. Get some damn rest, dude.
Yeah, no. Going to be popping an Ambien about 10 minutes after this is over.
Should I call you at 5 o'clock this morning? Make sure you're still awake?
No. I'll be good. I'll get a decent night's sleep tonight. It's 1:15, which kind of sucks. Hopefully by 2 a.m. I'll be out like a light.
All right. Well, make sure you wrap it up.
Take care, my friend. All right, everybody. I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. I want to give a big shout out to my Patreon family, my VIPers out there. Can't forget about them. And as I always say, everyone, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. We finally broke 19,500. I hope to be at 20,000 by August, and we'll have a nice, fun celebration. I'm going to post in the community section a couple of ideas to see what you want to do to celebrate 20. And Charlie Conway's asking me, why do I do Ambien? Because I suffer from some brutal pain from my car accident from the 90s, and I have a very hard time falling asleep at night. So, yeah, unfortunately, I am stuck on Ambien. And I have to take 4 magnesiums on top of it. Magnesium helps you sleep, too. But great night, man. Yesterday was fun, too. It was a lot, man. I wasn't kidding when I said on Twitter that 9 hours of work, because around 5 p.m., it was actually almost 10, because at 5 p.m., I worked on the contest for the YouTube channel members. Then at 6 o'clock, I'm getting all my notes set up, preparing the video for this show. Then at 7, we're getting ready to watch AEW, and I'm taking notes through the show. And then from 7:30 to midnight, screenshots, going back and forth, putting stuff together. And then we were up here from midnight to almost 3 a.m. And then by the time I put everything online, we were almost at 4 a.m. And then by the time I got to lay in bed, I heard birds chirping. That's not fun. I love birds, obviously, but that was not fun. And had a hard time last night sleeping. But hey, everyone, awesome. Everyone who posted your feedback from yesterday's show, I have already responded to everyone. I'm also catching up from the episodes from last week. So post your comments. Talk about Raw tonight. Anything that's on your mind, question, post it. I'll be more than happy to answer it. And one last time before I go, if you don't mind, if you enjoyed the show tonight, smash that like button. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Want to get to 20,000 the right way. It's pretty interesting to see some people out there with 40, 50, 100,000 subscribers, but yet you look at their view count for their episodes, and there's one person in particular that gets 300 to 500 views. And I'm saying to myself, how is that possible for someone to have 60,000 subscribers and the videos only get 500 or 600 views? Then I know what the answer is. I've looked around, but, just to get that check mark on the page, that's kind of cheap. So, but I want to earn each and every one of your, respect here and commitment to enjoy what we do over here. I love having this channel with all of you, whether you tune in on the video side or the audio only side. I always have to remember that about 80% of everybody out there accesses my audio only versions. It's just, think about it, logistics. It's easier. To sit and look at a video all night long, and not a lot of people could do that. But I thank you. Thank you always for the support. If you would have told me back in 1997 that I would still be doing this, my honest answer would have been, okay, I would have had no relationship at all. I would have been a complete vegetable in my house, or 500 pounds, and was just prone to my home and just basically gave up on everything and just decided to lay around my house and stay in front of a camera. That would have been my warped idea in 1997. To think that we're still having all of you tune in after all of these years, I mean, how does that not feel good? So I thank you. I sincerely thank you. Twix, I talked about Sting last night. I talked about 20 minutes about that guy. All I'll say tonight is, there's an old saying that 60 is the new 50, 50 is the new 40, and 40 is the new 30. For everybody out there that ripped apart Winter is Coming and ripped AEW for signing a 61-year-old man, I thought that was so terrible at that time. It was so unfair. And I noticed that the majority of people that were doing that were the same people that made fun of Miro's 2020. You know, even though to me it felt like Miro had a physical and mental vacation from being on the road with WWE for so many years. You know, I don't think, it's not my place, it's not your place, and it sure as hell ain't the social media's place to tell Miro, Christian, Sting, or anyone else how they should make their money in the future or how a company should utilize someone. Sting is on almost every week, so he is obviously an important character on that product, but they're not pushing him to the world title, and he's mentoring Darby Allin, and they're using him within his limitations. And the last thing I'll say about Sting, which I've said 1,000 times before, is I've watched Sting as a fan since 1987, I believe. And during that time, there was a couple of moments that were like, I never liked the Joker stuff and everything. But one thing I can honestly say is in the entire career of Sting, there was never a time that I ever saw him on TV and I said, man, this guy, I think he needs to pack it in. It's time. I felt that way about Hogan and Flair towards the very end of the TNA. In fact, the Australia tour, if people remember that. I felt like that about some people over the years. Undertaker, I felt that way. But I never, ever looked at Sting and said, man, what he's doing, it's time to go. So I trust Sting truly knows his body better than us. And if his body is not just mentally, but physically saying that he could still go and the doctors say it's okay, then, let's see what he can do. Yesterday, guys doing dives and everything. I mean, was he 40-year-old Sting? No. But he didn't embarrass himself. He did a phenomenal job yesterday, and I loved it. And, it's a shame that people don't learn. They made fun of Miro. They made fun of Sting. They made fun of Paul White. They made fun of Christian. They made fun of Matt Hardy. They made fun of Mark Henry. I mean, they just have to put somebody down. Even the Mick Foley stuff. I'm going to watch the documentary tonight before I go to bed. I'm hearing nothing but rave stuff. But right away, there's always people out there that have to put down other people. And I just think that is totally unfair. It just shows you how bitter some people out there that don't want to see someone enjoy something that they're doing. And the worst part about it is most of these people that comment on this, they're not even fans of AEW. So what do you care who they sign? What do you care what they do with the wrestlers? What do you care if they implode? If you're not a fan of AEW, go focus on something else. That's how I look at it. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to jet out of here. But before I do that, I have to acknowledge two very important super chats. Shail Sonin has been offered a WWE contract in the past. Do I think WWE may make him an offer in the future? Sure, why not? I don't know if he's needed right now. I think let's roll with Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was doing stuff in NXT, so obviously somebody's going to have to fill that void in NXT, although Jimmy Smith wasn't doing too much, but they were getting him acclimated. So, yeah, there's no reason why that cannot be a possibility in the future. So, and Cruiserweight, that's a very good observation, and it could very well happen. I just think WWE needs to focus more on the presentation physically and the writing and not necessarily the commentators. Commentators are not all that bad. And if you really think about it, Jimmy Smith was not necessary. But I think he did okay. I think he did okay tonight. Brandon Jones, WWE and WWF is the same company. So you would not be surprised to see LOD on the list. WWE really does not believe in Nikki Cross's wrestling abilities. I just think there's just nothing in the cards for her right now. So they figure, let's use her this way. She's in the record book. She's got a pair of wins. People aren't going to go back and look at that win-loss record or look back at 2021 and say, yeah, that was only a minute or 2 minutes. As far as the top 50 tag teams, dude, I'm pretty sure that WWE is going back to the 80s. I really do. And if they're going to go back to the 80s, they really have to acknowledge, some of the legendary teams. And sure, maybe the Legion of Doom may not have had the best tag team career inside WWE. And Mish makes a great argument that Demolition, in a lot of people's eyes, was better in WWE than the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. But I don't know. There's something about these top 50 lists that they're doing right now that are kind of like, when they didn't acknowledge a few people because they were from the 70s or the 80s, it's like, all right, you're doing it from a certain... If they only go back to the 90s, man, I don't know what you do. I mean, even if they go to Heart, could the Heart Foundation be number one team? I don't know. Would the Rockers be top 20? So I have to look at this a little bit further. But I personally think if you do any top tag team list in history, it's very, very difficult to have a credible, list and not have the LOD in it unless you focus on the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. All right. Then I could see it. But if you're going back to the 80s, Road Warriors really started to get everybody's attention in 1982. I don't even think there's a question. Then you got started, my God, the Brainbusters. Brainbusters are one of my favorite WWF tag teams of all time. So doing a list like this, it's very hard to predict early on because we don't know exactly how far they're going back. But when you see them showing MSK, nothing against MSK, nothing against the Rascals. When you see them shown in the graphics for the top 50, you see where I'm going with this? Maybe a top 25 list was more appropriate, but they want to include teams of today to make them feel that they are a part of history. And look, if I was in their position, I probably would do it too. But anyway, I'm going to jet out of here. So I don't want to take this too much longer. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And once again, if you haven't had enough, Mish and I will be on Patreon tomorrow night at 10:05 p.m. Eastern, the Patreon Discord channel. And then on Wednesday, I will be back here for Wednesday Night Dynamite, Thursday for the Don Tony Show, Thursday for Ask DT, the mailbag. Friday's the Don Tony Show, and Friday we'll do the watch along again for, somebody asked me the other day, what did I use to watch? I actually used my computer, but it was not very easy to monitor it because what I was afraid of is the audio level getting too high, especially if it's being recorded in the computer. So I had this old iPad, and I actually used this to watch Dynamite while we were streaming it. So, yeah, I'll have the iPad going. And that's it. I hope you can join me for some time during the rest of this week. So, everyone take care, be well, and, 3 shows in a row. I get to do this one more time. So, little outro video. And I thank you all for tuning in. Be well, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.